This is Ashish R. Bedekar, and welcome to my podcast, The ARB Show. I'm thrilled to introduce today's guest, Priya. Priya is the founder and chief growth advisor of Sprouting Shoots, providing fractional chief sales officer services to small and medium enterprises and startups to enable them to achieve their sales goal. She is a renowned global expert in the art and science of sales. For almost 3 decades, that's 112 quarters, she has partnered with business leaders, executives, entrepreneurs in the B2B space to drive effective sales strategy to customer engagement. She has worked as a consultant with more than 250 mid-sized to large organizations, managing teams from 5 to 1500. She was listed as one of the top 25 most influential women in India by CEO magazine and among the top successful women to watch in 2018 by Insight Success. Priya is regularly invited to present and speak at events and podcasts related to sales and sales leadership. Welcome to the show, Priya. Do share your life journey and your vision for Sprouting Shoots.
Thank you, Ashish. Thanks for having me. Um, I think the vision and life goals are about how I can bring value and improve the strategic importance of sales for organizations, small businesses, startups, or large enterprises, because I really don't know at which point in time in life I figured this out, but I do know I figured this out pretty much late in life that I love doing what I do. And I read that concept of ikigai, and it kind of all came together to say, this is what I'm good at, this is what I love doing, and this is how I make my money. So, sales enablement, sales performance management, working with organizations in getting them more sales, better sales is my ikigai, I can say that. Other than that, I do have strong viewpoints on a lot of topics, specifically about inclusion. And I'm not saying diversity carefully because I think it's more about inclusion, be it gender, be it race, be it age, something that I'm talking a lot about today. Now that I'm on the other side of 50, it's becoming a topic of discussion. So keeping busy with all that I do and excited to be here today to share few things that I've picked up on the way of my journey as a sales practitioner.
Great. Thank you, Priya. So, as we discussed, I'd like to have a format in which the guest talks about the top 5 tips in a specific area. And given your rich experience and leadership in the sales enablement process, I request you to talk about the top 5 practices in sales enablement. And I'm sure that would be extremely useful for the audience. Over to you, Priya.
Yeah. So I think sales enablement has been through a lot of change in the past couple of years. We were already kind of sensing that this is going to evolve even before the pandemic happened because technology was coming in and we could see tools with AI integration happen. And I think pandemic just pushed it through the door completely for us because it was the first time ever where salespeople sat at home and they didn't know how to engage with their clients. And these Zoom rooms became our savior. And we all scrambled to learn digital selling, virtual selling, social selling, and everything else. So I think in our worlds today, where we are globally connected, socially engaged, digitally crowded, and fiercely competitive, sales enablement has kind of a critical role to play. And when I talk about sales enablement is not a function or a person in an organization. Sales enablement is really looking at our ecosystems in an organization and saying, how do we make our salespeople more efficient and effective in customer conversations, right? Because we know that's how we are going to win. So sales enablement is all of that and more. So it's tough to pick only 5 practices, but I am going to try here to talk you through 5 practices. And I think the first one that I'd like to pick up is talking about our focus on existing customers. So if we look at the volatility in the markets today, we know our conversion ratios have been hit. Interestingly, a data point for you to think about, if you were, and I'm not promoting gambling, okay, but if you were playing blackjack on a table in Vegas, the chances of you winning is 46.8%. If you are in B2B sales, the chances of you winning a deal is 48%. So you're not too far from actually just gambling. And the reason I'm talking to this data point is I think we don't put enough emphasis on looking at our cost of customer acquisition, or looking at how do we really review our conversion ratio in an organization. And in volatile markets like we've been in globally, we've still not stopped talking about that bad R word of recession. We've seen the war impact us, we've seen the pandemic impact us, and it's not the end of the story yet, right? So focusing on existing customers and ensuring that as a business we have systems, processes, people invested in that engagement is very, very important. And it's not just enough to say, okay, I will focus on my existing clients, but I think it's kind of breaking that strategy down even further to say, what do I need when I say existing customer and account management? Because, and again, nothing against animals, and I'm not promoting hunting here. I'm just very careful of what I say on social media and platforms nowadays. But imagine if account management was elephant hunting. It is different than deer hunting, and it is different than rabbit hunting. And like I said, I'm not promoting hunting, but I'm only giving the example here so that we can understand that the skills required for bringing in the accounts, the relationships, and the deals when you're going after elephant-size accounts is very different when you're looking at rabbit-size opportunities. And a lot of times, sales leaders don't pause enough to think about it. So I think one thing and one practice that's becoming very important right now is to have a strategy for your existing customers and break that down further to say which out of that account management client relationship team is going to do elephant hunting, which would do deer hunting, and which would do rabbit hunting, and ensure that they have the skills and the tools to be able to do that then.
Excellent. I think, Priya, that was really fantastic. And in fact, that's true, because the way, it's the same product or the same software product or any product which would be sold to, let's say, a tier 1 global Fortune 10 company cannot be sold to, let's say, a developer or a long tail opportunity, right? So that focus on various skills, processes have to be done. And I think when I heard you, I kind of also reflected on the kind of discussion which goes between a PLG and SLG and a hybrid approach. So essentially what you are saying is essentially that you need to not be fixated on the term, but use your common sense, use the general awareness to ensure that you're not stuck up into the kind of semantics, but ensure that the right kind of tools, people, processes are there for the right kind of set of customers, which is a very, very great thing. What would be your second comment or second practice on sales enablement?
Absolutely. So, when I started the year out for 2023, I usually every year try and give myself a word of the year And that word of the year is not because it's a buzzword, but it's just to me as a reminder that this is something that I have to be more focused or conscious about. And my year 2023 word has been to be intentional. And I've realized this is not just my challenge, it's a challenge for a lot of us in leadership roles today. Because a lot of times our life goes by default, right? So I need to do account management, right? No brainer. Everybody knows it. Cost of acquisition for existing customers is lower than bringing in new customers. Everybody knows it. Yet we are not intentional about it. Yet we are not putting in systems and processes. And that's the reason I picked that up as my first practice. You touched upon one of the things I've been ranting about, and a lot of my startup friends know my rant about this one, where people say, oh, I have a PLG strategy, and we do not have a sales-led growth strategy. And I absolutely understand and appreciate that's a great term to use in the tech space and in the SaaS space. However, PLG is a sales strategy. And I want to say this to people, that even if you've looked at product-led growth, remember, product doesn't bring the business. Customer brings the business. The money comes from the customer. And even if product is going to lead my conversation, I will still need to have a plan or need to be intentional about my strategy to engage with my customer. I can engage them with a bot. I can engage them through my AI platforms. I can engage them through people. But the point is, I need to have a strategy and I need to be intentional. And in fact, that is my second practice that I wanted to talk about today, is B2B, specifically B2B, or D2C, or even B2C for that matter. As long as bots don't start to make purchasing decisions, any kind of sales we do is what I call edge to edge, which is human to human. Priya sells to Ashish. Sprouting Shoots doesn't sell to literally anybody. It means you wouldn't even have known what's the name of my organization, because we still do value what people bring to us. And people help us make buying decisions. So I can guide someone completely through my funnel. I can have a good velocity set up through my cadence. But at the end of the day, a person is going to make a decision to buy or not buy. And if that be true, there has to be a person on the other end who's managing that sales or customer engagement process. And that's why I keep saying that it is edge to edge. I love the tech tools. I am a big evangelist for technologies. But I always keep saying that I don't worry about artificial intelligence. I worry about human stupidity. And right. I just want to be sure that we don't let artificial intelligence get better than human intelligence. Okay. We need to use it to augment what we do, not take over what we do. We need to move ourselves up the value chain, right?
Great. No, that's very true, right? Because many times, specifically in the tech world, there is a tendency to, kind of get carried away with acronyms or technology or things, etc. But that's very valid, right? Because the objective of any endeavor, of any business thing, is enrichment of human life or human civilization at large. I mean, I'm just talking at a very philosophical level, but that's true, right? Because unless you are making an effort or making a value addition to the human life, it is just a trivial exercise, even if you have the best technology in the world. So, which is very true, right? Edge to edge. That should be the key mantra for everyone. What would be your third practice which you would like to indicate?
Yeah. And so since we are talking about technology, the third one is absolutely tech related. In the sales world, I think we've seen maximum number of startups start out tech platforms that they can sell to sales and marketing. I was looking at a number, and last year there were about 6,000 plus startups that have survived through the year. Like some of them may have not even made it through the year, just in the space of sales and marketing technologies, new startups. So imagine how many of them are coming up every year. And a lot of us are buying technology to make our sales, customer engagement omnipresent and seamless, and wanting to ensure that the grunt work is being done by technology so that we are able to use our salespeople for the most valuable conversations or engagement with our client. Now, all this is good, but then the important thing there, which is the third practice, is focus not on automation but on integration. And what I mean by that is, if we do a time and motion study, we know that a seller spends only 36% of their time in selling and sales activities. 64% of their time actually goes into non-sales activities, which is what we were actually trying to automate. And what we were wanting to do is, with technology coming in, let's ensure that this pie of 36% becomes bigger. And in that time that I have when I'm actually selling, can I be smarter because technology did things for me, so that I can use this 36% time to give me a better return on time invested. So what it means is, if I were to sell to you, Ashish, before coming to the show, I could have had a tool that may have said, this is who Ashish is, this is what he likes, this is what he does, this is where he's been, in a quick 5-minute snapshot, so that I don't have to go and do that research, which may have taken me 20 minutes. Now, that's a great tool, so that I can focus in the conversation that we have rather than spending time on doing research. However, what we've done is we've bought different technologies, and now they don't integrate to each other. So as a seller, I am always living between multiple tabs on my system, trying to feed data, if I am being honest, even manipulate data, because I need to ensure that all data points are in sync, right? Because technology makes it visible. And this is wasting a lot of time. So from where we started, we've kind of come back to that we wanted to improve the time we had for sales activities, and we wanted to get better return. But now we have so many tools. So I'm using a tool to run my email campaign. I'm using another tool to do my LinkedIn messaging. I'm using another tool to do my CRM. I'm using another tool to be my dialer to do cold calling. And all those 5 technologies don't talk to each other. And I'm not saying you can't have a Zapier that integrates technologies to each other. Okay. What I mean when they don't talk to each other is, I'm saying in the sales workflow, they don't talk to each other.
Right.
They are standalones.
Right.
So when a sales leader reviews it, some of the sales leaders don't even know what technology their sellers are using, or that I have a dashboard visible somewhere, or I could actually go do coaching at 10 o'clock in the night when my seller is not even making any calls or meetings, because that data is already captured somewhere. so that I don't waste time in doing a sales review at 10 a.m. in the morning when my seller could have been engaging with my client.
Right.
And that's what I mean by integration. So not tech integration, but sales flow integration.
Right.
And
right.
which is why this sits with sales enablement.
Right. In fact, I'm reminder of two humorous memes, and I'd like to just mention that. I'm sure you would have seen. First one is says that I am a 007 sales guy, zero time with customers, right? Zero hours with cold calls, but 7 hours managing CRM and backend systems, right? And the second one which I came across is that it's all fine to have all the tools in the world, but can you export to Excel, right? Because many a times it might seem flippant, but point is the key decision maker, right, or at the CEO level, are at times they really like to have things in a very simple way, that okay, this is what we did in this quarter, this is what we would do in next quarter, and these are the kind of trend. And if they kind of can export it in Excel and kind of try to make sense of it themselves, that's what they want. But your point is well taken, right? Because many times too much of tools can actually be counterproductive. If life is simple, we tend to complicate it. Great. Which brings us to
Having said that, that's how consultants like me make money. So when your life is complicated, who do you call?
Yeah. Better call Priya, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
We are the sales busters.
Exactly. So, which brings us to our fourth point. What, in your view, is the fourth practice of sales enablement?
Yeah, and I think the fourth practice is around value selling, and it's not that it's required today. It's always been required. If you ask me, I've always said the mantra to win is gain mind share and then get wallet share, and not the other way around, which means we should always be selling value and not products, not features, not solutions, and not price, none of that. However, having said that, I think in today's market, it's like the hygiene factor. Like if you're not selling on value, you are going to struggle to survive. And the reason for that is that one point I made in our initial few minutes, that we are fiercely competitive. Now think about how our worlds have changed. I grew up in Delhi. My first sales job, and for the first few years, was limited to being in Delhi. I grew to becoming a manager, never having to sell outside Delhi, right? However, if you look at a seller starting their career today, you're already selling in a global landscape. Because even if your client sits in Delhi or in the city where you are, in the location where you are, the alternative to your product, service, or solution is globally available. And it is accessible. You can go and buy that today, right? So despite the fact that the global players and a lot of the mid-sized players are doing geo-tagging and doing all of that to say, no, I only want to sell here, we go and sell anywhere and everywhere we can. Which means if you're not having a value conversation in this competitive marketplace, then by the law of probability, you will win some for sure. But your churn rates are going to be really high, which is going to impact your bottom line. Or you're going to be buying sales in a short term. And a lot of times people don't realize that you're throwing in marketing dollars and converting it into new business to the company. However, what you don't realize is it's a leaky bucket, right? What comes in on the top and then it keeps leaking out. Because why is it leaking out? Like commonsensically, you and I are consumers to brands as well, right? Why would you use a service and not go back and use it again? Because you didn't realize the value of it, right?
Got it.
And that's why I think the practice is not just about making value propositions when you're selling, but having the process to go back and tell the customer that you delivered the value. So if I tell you that, Ashish, I can come in and improve your conversion ratio by 20% and your sales cycle is 6 months, I should go back to you after 6 months and show you if I have improved your conversion ratio by 20% or not. That would be value selling, right?
Got it.
Otherwise, it's just lip service.
True.
And that selling's not going to work anymore. So it's not about making fancy presentations. And I'm not saying don't make fancy presentations. But what I'm saying is whatever you put on your sales pitch or in your value proposition story, go back and prove that you have delivered it. Because the customer is not going to do the measurement for you.
True.
Right? So
very
I think this is where sales enablement again has a very important role to play, because if we haven't created a process or a methodology for this, if we haven't allocated resources, this is where I think technology can be so valuable. I am a partner to Corporate Visions, and we've acquired a business called True Voice, which allows you to do customer feedback. And I'm not trying to make a sales pitch here, but I love that tool because that tool tells you exactly why your customer bought from you. And think about how powerful would that be. You know why people buy from you. So you can do more of what makes you win.
Got it. No, this is very basic but very fundamental insight into the overall scheme of things. Because many times, when you focus on the simple things, they are actually will give you the most results. And here also, what I also hear in this value selling is if you stay close to the customer, understand, anticipate customer needs, and ensure that you have a workflow in which even after you deliver, that value is communicated in very crystal clear across the stack, right? For example, which also means that if right up to the CEO level at the customer, whatever value we have created, if you have ways and means to communicate, do that, right? Because there's nothing like over communication. But in a complex B2B environment, there are many influencers and many areas, so you have to ensure that everyone sees what your value are bringing. Excellent. So, which comes to our final practice. What, in your view, is the fifth practice which we should remember?
So this is the one that people can shoot me down for. I am warning you, but I am still going to share it. I personally believe cold calling is dead. And I'm not saying calling is dead. I am saying cold calling is dead. What that really means is, in our world today, where we have so much of technology available, where there is so much information about organizations, people, trends, industry vertical information, everything is available out there. It does not make sense to do cold calling. You could, even if you don't know me as Priya Sachdev, right? You can't personalize to Priya, but can you contextualize by knowing where I am, what I'm trying to do? I can't tell you how many cold emails, cold messages, cold calls I get every day, where someone's calling me and saying, I can do software development for you. I can create an app for you. Did you even check what I do? Like, really? And it's someone who's all over the place. Means you can find me on all social media platforms. And it just feels like, come on, go and do a little bit of research before you pick up the phone and do that. And this is not like okay, in B2C, if you were selling credit cards, they may still have a reason, which I still don't understand, but maybe they have a reason that they have to get through to 100 people every day. But this reason in B2B sales, I just don't understand it. And that's why calling is good. I welcome people who call me as long as they can have a context and they can personalize their conversation to me.
Right.
Don't just pick up the phone and not even know who you're speaking to and say, hello, sir. Like, I'm not sure. Like,
yeah.
Really?
And also, funnily, many times you get emails even when not bothered to personalize, right? So it just says that, dear, into brackets, recipient. I said,
yeah,
you need to take care of such even small things, right? And as you rightly mentioned, this is actually a very interesting issue, because with so much technology around, if you do a proper personalization, understand what the recipient of the message or call is going to be, that kind of adds context. And thanks to things like Truecaller, etc., God forbid if you get tagged as a spam, then all your future areas and opportunities also go as well. So anyway, thanks Priya. This gives a great perspective, and thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in. The presentation in the show call notes has Priya's social media links, bonus contents that you should definitely check. Do subscribe, share, and like this podcast. Available on Apple, on Spotify, on YouTube, and wherever you see your podcast or hear it. Thank you so much. Take care.